segment, but it's been really kind of them to let us use this room and provide the excellent food. So if you know of anyone who needs space to rent, they actually don't charge us. They just, if you eat lunch here, you get to use the space. So if you've got meetings or events that you'd like to have great food at, this is an excellent spot to do it. Our next topic is the 4 steps for addiction. What I'd like to do with this segment is give you some information that's going to help you with our breakout groups later when you work on 4-step plans together. I know all of you are familiar with the 4 steps, so we're going to try to take it a little deeper and make it more useful for you in your practical life. The first thing, though, is always to review what the 4 steps are, and I know a lot of you know them. So step number 1, anybody? Yell it out.
Decide what you want and maybe make a short sentence about it.
Great, deciding what you want. I was thinking while Katie was helping us try to turn the pen into a diamond, we knew what we wanted, but just that wasn't enough. But that is a very important step. If we don't know what we want, then we can't start figuring out what kind of action to take to plant the seeds to see in our future what it is that we do want. So I'm not saying that, when Katie's talking about the diamond, we're not saying that you shouldn't visualize what you want, because I think it's really important and it's difficult. A lot of us have found that this is one of the hardest steps, to know what you want in one simple sentence. And then the second thing that we do at that point is to, sorry, maybe you don't know, I'm asking you a question. What is the second thing that we do?
Find someone else who wants that.
Find someone else who wants something as similar as you can. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but you're looking for something similar. And then you're going to make a plan, detailed plan on how you want to help them. And then, does anyone know what the third thing is?
Make a detailed plan to help them.
That's actually part of step 2.
Oh.
Because it's in
just
the phase.
do it.
It's in the phase of the concept. I was confused about this before too. It seems like that would be the next step after you find someone, that then you would make a plan. But it's in your visioning portion. Who do I know who wants something similar to what I want? And what practical way can I find to help them? How much time could I commit to that? Where would it be convenient for them to meet? How could that be done smoothly? So then number 3 is the action. You've got to take the action. That's just do it. And while you're taking that action, you want to make sure to be really attentive. You don't want to be thinking about baseball while you're meeting your friend to help them with their donut addiction. So be aware of the environment, where you are. Listen to the person closely and think about what their needs are. We know that we can't always help people with their addiction. If somebody has a serious addiction that could be even life-threatening, I'm not qualified to help them with that. But I am able to listen to their ideas about it and be a sounding board for them. The main thing is that we want to help, and we make ourselves available. And then we can also help them find the resources that they need, of course, as well. But for an addiction that someone might share, that I do have, my cell phone addiction particularly is something that I'd like to work on. And if you can get together and share ideas, Katie had a great idea about keeping the phone on airplane mode for more of the day. And I like that idea a lot. So we can share different ideas amongst ourselves about how we can protect ourselves from this constant electronic addiction that I myself am working with. And there's a 4th step. Does anyone remember what the 4th step is?
Coffee meditation.
Coffee meditation. The most important of the 4 steps, because we can come up with a plan, we can do the deed, and then we can, just like a farmer, put that seed in a place where it will never grow. I know Monique is a farmer. So if I take a seed and I put it on some cement and I don't give it soil or water or fertilizer, it will kill the seed probably without it ever even having a chance to sprout. So what the coffee meditation does is it sends the energy to the seed so that seed can grow strong and fast. And when something grows strong and fast in our 4-step plan, what happens is we get results. We have an example where Janice and I presented the Talent, Passion, and Purpose talk 2 weeks ago from today. And then while everyone was doing their 4-step plan, Janice and stood in this corner because no one needed us. And we're like, oh, well, maybe we better talk about our 4-step plan. So we each wrote down a little bit about what we wanted. And then we shared our notes, and now, lo and behold, both of us wanted the same thing as our number one most important thing. We wanted to be more involved with sharing these ideas and becoming better presenters and getting to present in a larger worldwide audience. And then 2 days later, we both got invited to go to Thailand to present for 2 weeks in December. That was an example of a seed ripening very quickly. And so that's how we want our 4-step plans to go, so that it builds this excitement about, hey, well, worked for that, let's try it again. So the 4 steps to break addiction, for that subject, I wanted to talk a little bit more about different ways we could use a 4-step plan. First of all, some of us might not know what is holding us back. What is keeping us from being happy? What's keeping us from having the joyful, fun, and fulfilling life that we want? So if you don't know what your addictions are, your first sentence might be, I want to be able to identify my addictions in the next month. So you could really focus on getting to know your addictions better. And to do that, you're going to be looking for someone else, right? So if you have a friend who you've noticed has an addiction that you think maybe they don't realize. So we can often see in others that they have behavior that's compulsive, but they might not recognize it in themselves. So here I go. My friend is addicted to watching Netflix constantly, but they don't seem to realize it. So I'm going to walk up to her desk and say, hey, Monique, I noticed you've got a real problem at work. I want to help you. So I might not get a great response from that. Okay, so here's one of the subtle points about 4 steps for addiction. It's going to be a lot more skillful if you have someone in mind that you think could use some help identifying their addictions. Go a little bit more casual and mention to them that you're working on trying to cut down on some of your bad habits in your life, and you are wondering if they would have time to get with you to help you talk about that. Okay, so make it about you. Don't make it about somebody else that you've decided has a lot of addictions. Would be one way. A more traditional way of using the 4. I know Katie wants a cell phone used to protect her health, and that's coming. And so we're going to get together and talk about ways to do that. That's just your third. I want to talk to you here as being that misunderstanding of where things come from. So like I'm used to from that thing. So let's say I'm looking for success at work, or to be more productive at work is the thing I identify from my cell phone. Is my cell phone actually inside of it is able to give me success at work from the direction? No. Sometimes I may check my cell phone and see that somebody wants to write a contract on a property or wants to go see property. Great. Yesterday I checked my cell phone and found out that somebody doesn't want to buy a piece of property that I thought they wanted to buy. So the cell phone has a lot of mixed results, and it has a lot of absolutely no results at all, but I picked it up and looked at it anyway. So what do I want? I want success at work. Getting it from I'm going to find someone else that's at work, bound for relaxation from a glass of wine. Will the wine give that to me? Sometimes it might, or sometimes it might make me feel sleepy. Sometimes it might upset my stomach. It's not always going to give me the result I'm looking for. So we're going to say it doesn't work all the time. So if what I want is relaxation, I may still decide to have a glass of wine, but first think about how can you help other people feel more relaxed and more comfortable. Okay, so this is a really important concept in this level of breaking our addiction. There's one more thing about the 4 steps that Janice, I think, is going to talk about a little bit later, and that is if your environment is filled with a lot of people who are also checking their cell phones, who are also on their computer all the time, And they're thinking of it as a good thing. That's how you are more productive. That's how you show you're working hard at real estate, is you're constantly on your computer. So I'm in an addictive environment. We're going to address ways of working with that using the 4-step method as well. So next up, we have Katie talking about the wheel of life and how to break our addictions.
All right. So this is the Wheel of Life. It's an ancient tool from 2,500 years ago. And I know the first time I saw it, the only thing I could really see was this guy. He's sort of scary looking. And then within here, there's some really, a little bit of like Hieronymus Bosch looking scenes, if you know that artist. Some of his work is a little bit scary. So for me, I was like, why is this monster holding a Hieronymus Bosch painting? What is this? And I didn't realize that each one of these pieces of the wheel represents something we're all going to have to go through. So something that it really should be called the Wheel of Painful Life instead of the Wheel of Life, because what this represents is the pain that we get ourselves into, or the unhappiness, and how we end up being in a self-perpetuating wheel of unhappiness that we're actually creating. So the monster represents this pain that's coming for all of us eventually. Or in the case, it's the addiction and pain that the addiction will bring. For instance, even coffee, if left unchecked, it does cause you pain. It might make you anxious, it might raise your blood pressure, it might give you an ulcer. Or in my case, being pregnant, I have experienced physical addictions that I never had to deal with in my life, which was chocolate chip cookies was a main one. And you can ask my family, it was becoming a little bit of a problem to where every other day I was making 24 dozen cookies and eating them. Sometimes they wouldn't even make it to the baking part of it, but when I was sneaking the ingredients into the shopping cart so my husband wouldn't notice, or I was hiding some of the cookies and giving them away so it didn't look like I was making that many. So it was a problem. So we're just going to briefly go over the parts of the wheel. Then more importantly, we're going to talk about how to break this wheel. So the wheel is a self-perpetuating cycle that we get ourselves into. And I think it's important to note that the wheel is pain. That's why I have this little teddy bear, that's been a little beat up. So don't think that this wheel has anything to do with happiness. But if you know how to break the wheel at its killing point, then you can get out of the self-perpetuating cycle. So the monster we already covered. And then these are the 12 links. And these are how we plant seeds, what happens to those seeds after we plant them, and how they open, and then how we replant them. And we're going to go into more detail about that later. This actually has to do with the stages of addiction and what happens if you leave your addiction left untreated. So, but we don't have time to really talk about that. If you have questions or want to know, we can help. Later. This center and the person that drives them. This is actually represents our misunderstandings. We're chocolate chip cookies. And also, happiness is in chocolate chip cookie. When I eat it, this all-powerful chocolate chip cookie has the power to deliver happiness. But really, happiness needs somebody else happy in the past. So the pig desire that you want more thinking of Cheeto Max's the form of desire that you don't want. But there are good desires. Well, downward spiral would be you don't understand where things come from, so you keep doing wrong things to try and get the things that you want. Really, it's more you're stressed out trying to get them. You're doing wrong things. You think that happiness is in the cookie. And the more and more misunderstanding, and the more and more actions or thoughts or ways you speak that you undertake that are hurting other people, you end up on a downward spiral. And you can really see this with addiction, such as, even heroin addiction. If you don't understand where that addiction is coming from and you don't understand that there's nothing in the substance that's bringing you anything, you end up in a very serious downward spiral that usually ends in ruin and death. However, if you learn how to karate chop the wheel at its killing point and you start applying what you've learned here, the idea of the pen isn't coming from the pen is coming from me. My addictions are the same, addictions are coming from me. Your life and to reach your goals. All right, so where is this killing point on the wheel? These are planted, and how we stay inside terms is, let's say, and my husband starts yelling at me. At that moment, I'm trying to do the opposite, trying to understand the pen, trying to remember Alex's phone addiction, and I can use seeds to change the world and to change what I want to do. Way back here, sorry, one person the wheel, and that's the Buddha. He, all of his addictions,